Everything is collapsing. Stock market, cryptos, housing's next. I want you to take note of your emotions right now and think about how you're feeling. Good. Bring it in. Hug it out. My name's Eric. This is above my pay grade. Let's get into it. All right, guys. Today I want to talk about confirmation bias. What is that? Well, if you've ever wondered, you look at these politicians, you're like, how could no one in their circle of influence say, hey, that's a horrible idea. You know, a lot of the populace might look at it, something they do, and like, hey, that's really dumb. You know, gas prices are going up and you decrease supply of fuel. That's really dumb. How could that decision be made? Well, oftentimes these people fire everyone that disagrees with them. And so they have this echo chamber of humans that says, hey, great idea. That's a fabulous idea. It happens on both sides of the aisle. It happens in business. And that's how a lot of these bad decisions can be made. So that's why it's really important on an individual level to read the biggest detractor of what you're doing. So let's say, like myself, I like Bitcoin. I want to read all the cases as to why it's going to zero. And then make my decision from there. But if you're in this echo chamber of people that say, this is the greatest idea ever, a good example of this is, you guys have probably heard of Jim Cramer on CNBC. That guy makes $5 million a year, base salary. And a lot of the baby boomer generation watches him and takes his advice. And if you follow his stock picks, virtually 75% of the time, if you shorted when he told you to buy, you'd be a lot richer. So a lot of people want what they think to be true, and it oftentimes is not. A good example of this confirmation bias is probably the feeling you have right now. Because you see everything going down, and you feel like it's never going back up, or it's going to continue to go down. And actually, that could be the case. Eventually, it'll go back up. But this is why it's important to rely on fundamentals like dollar cost averaging into assets that you think are going to go up over time. Oftentimes, that's when people make their money when they buy an asset, not necessarily when they sell it. What I mean by that is, in these times when these emotions, everyone's saying, oh, it's never going to recover. When people buy assets, they make a lot of money when they're buying because it's undervalued. So be careful of your preconceived notions. I always think you should examine both sides of the argument and understand there are a couple truths here. We live in a debt-based monetary system. The debt is going to always expand. The Federal Reserve is always going to print money and do quantitative easing. If they don't, the consequences are more dire than if they do. Therefore, if you use game theory, they're going to do that. They need to preserve the power of the dollar. And so, I hope in my lifetime we get to a point where there is no central bank, because I think central banks are evil and they distort people's work, purchasing power, and their time. But the system we live in now is debt-based, meaning it must expand. The debt must expand. And so when you see these markets going down, as soon as the Federal Reserve goes, sorry, we overcorrected, which they'll eventually do, the money printer's going back on, and all these assets are going to go to the moon like they did in 2020. And so we live in this continual cycle of booms and a massive scary correction, and that'll continue until the dollar falls apart, unfortunately. So That's why I'm so bullish on things that the federal government can't print. And if you use fundamentals, like not over leveraging yourself, there's people that make more money than you in a bull market oftentimes because they take a lot more risk, but then they don't exist when the bear market comes because the bear market wipes them out completely. And so it's the person that can hold on to their emotions and not lose a ton of capital during the bear market that over the long run does a lot better. And I think a huge part of that is controlling your emotions and kind of analyzing what you feel during bear markets like this. Because if you think it'll never go back up, then you don't understand the money printer, because the money printer's coming back on. And you don't understand politicians and the incentives that they have when there's this money printer over here. So it's going back up. It's just a matter of when, and oftentimes the best time to buy is during a bear market. Again, it can go further down, but these are just things to keep in mind. Always look into assets that the government can't print more of, because the more they print, the more that asset goes up because there's more dollars chasing the same amount of that item, like Bitcoin, gold, silver, housing, things like that. All right, hope you got something out of this. Hope you like that group hug. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.